and welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today I've got a fun autumnal light up card for you. So we're going to be using this Stamp of the Month set from Spellbinders and then some of our white LEDs from Chibitronics to light it up with. So the first thing I'm going to do today is stamp this large pumpkin piece. And I'm going to stamp that in my crisp dye ink. I'm going to stamp it on some vellum first, and then I'm going to set that aside to dry, and then I'm also going to stamp it on a 4x4 piece of white cardstock. So before I do any kind of colouring or anything, I'm going to stamp my sentiment just in case I mess it up. I don't want to do all the colouring and then mess it up. So I'm going to have that in this corner here. And then what I want to do is go ahead and cut out the pumpkins. So I'm going to make a bit of a rough hole first, because for me that makes it easier to then cut everything out nicely. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut around nicely. And you'll notice that I've left in the leaves and everything because I only want the orange bit to light up. So then I'm going to use my Tropical Garden set of Autumnal alcohol markers to colour this in. And then this looks to have pretty much dried now. If you're worried about it, then give it a quick blast with the heat gun if you need to, as long as your vellum is heat resistant. And then I'm going to go ahead and just colour the pumpkins on these. So you may have noticed as well that the alcohol markers don't blend in quite the same way on vellum as they do on normal cardstock. So it means that when you add another layer, it kind of picks up more of the previous layer than it would on normal cardstock. So you can do a lot more kind of smushing about, but it doesn't have the same kind of very smooth finish. It also takes a tad longer to dry, so I'm going to leave that to dry while we build our circuit. So I've got another 4-inch square piece of cardstock to build my circuit on. I'm just going to add a couple of dots just in the middle of these pumpkins, just for where I want my lights. And then I'm going to have my battery up here, because I want to be able to press on this, because it's easy then just to be able to write a note inside the card and say, press the sentiment for a surprise, or press the sentiment and watch it light up, or something like that. So I'm going to build a simple circuit. If you've seen my light up cards before, you'll know that I like to use these foam adhesive packs. So in here you get 5 of these little cardboard switches, some foam tape, and 5 of these little battery holders as well. So those are really useful when you're building your circuits. You could obviously make your own switch just by folding over a piece of cardstock, but I find it helpful just to have them like this. So I'm going to grab my little stencil, and you'll see that on the stencil we've got this little triangle bit, which is the same shape as our lights, so we can use that to decide where we want our lights. So I'm going to put a light over the top of each of these dots that I drew through. And I want them all to be facing the same way. That just makes it easier to join them up with our tape. So this bit here is the positive side of our lights, and the pointy bit is the negative side. So I'm going to put my battery holder on like this, up here. And then I'm going to use my fabric tape. So this is a self-adhesive conductive tape. And I'm going to pop this on here. You can see there's a negative sign there. So I'm going to pop that on there. Then I'm going to come round And remember, the negative side of my lights is the pointy one. So basically we're doing kind of a big dot to dot puzzle with the fabric tape. So we're just going to join up all of those pointy parts of the lights. And as soon as we've got that last one down, then we can just cut that end off. Doesn't need to join up to anything. All it needs to do is join the negative part of the battery with the negative parts of the lights. And then we're going to do the same on the positive side. And the only thing to really remember on this is you do negative to negative, you do positive to positive, and the positive should never cross the negative line. Those are the only rules. It's actually really easy to do. So that's coming up this side and down the other side of the battery holder. And it's going to come round here, so I'm being sure not to connect it with that piece of the fabric tape. And then I'm just going to go round and I'm going to join up the positive sides of the lights. It just really helps to draw those lights on with that stencil first, and then you know exactly where you're going. And then again, I can just chop that off. And Chibitronics just makes it so easy by making all of their stuff self-adhesive. So then I'm going to grab my lights. I'm going to remember that the pointy side is going on this side, that the flat side is going on this side. And then I'm just adding a light over each of those points. Then I'm going to grab one of these battery holders. I'm going to pop it in here. Again, it's self-adhesive. So then I'm just going to pop my little coin battery in there, and then we can test it out. And you can see that these two are lighting up and this one's not. So I've just wiggled that about just to make sure it's on that tape properly, and now you can see they all work. And then if we put this over the top, then you can see that they will shine through there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue this over here. So I think the easiest thing for that is to use some of these sticky specks. So then I'm going to glue that over there. And then I can just trim that around. So then you can see that I've labelled up that circuit, and I'll put a picture of that over on my blog so that if you're trying to make this yourself, then you can follow that circuit easily. And in the pack that I showed you, there's some foam tape, but you've also got this bit that is kind of the outside of the battery holders. So that works as foam tape as well. So I'm just going to use that so as not to waste it, just to go round here. And I just want to make sure that I'm not putting any where these pumpkins are. So I'm just going to give myself a little mark on here. So I know I don't want any below there. And it doesn't matter if this goes over the fabric tape, but you obviously don't want it to go over the switch or over the LEDs. So then I'm going to put this on over here. And I'm just going to put this small bit in this corner just to hold that bit down. You can see now that that's lighting up those pumpkins, which I think looks really pretty. So then all I've got left to do is just make up my card. So I'm going to glue this piece onto my gold piece. And then I'm going to glue this onto my card front. So now we've got our super sweet pumpkin card, which we can press on here and light up. So I really hope that you've enjoyed creating this card with me today. If you have, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future projects. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used to create today's card are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.